The red dwarf star hung in the distance, its light faint but steady, casting a dim crimson glow across the wide curve of the neutral space station. This station, named Aurora Point, had long been a place where rival species met to talk instead of fight. Its corridors were filled with echoes of 100 different languages, but on this day, the noise centered on one grand chamber, a circular hall prepared for a rare summit of 5 powerful empires. Inside, 5 alien delegations stood proudly beneath banners that shimmered in artificial gravity. They were not here to discuss peace, not really. They were here to display strength, and each wanted to prove their race held the greatest power in the galaxy. The Arkan Dominion arrived first. Tall reptilian beings with scales that reflected the dim light like polished stone. Their leader, Admiral Zarkath, wore armor plated with ceremonial gold, and his long claws tapped against the table as he spoke. Our flagship Crimson Fang shattered 3 fleets in a single campaign. No vessel in known space carries weapons as fierce as ours. The Velthar Union representatives followed. They were tall, insect-like beings, their movements sharp and precise. Their commander, High Marshal Kelleth, bowed stiffly before speaking. "You boast dominion," she said with her mandibles clicking. "Yet your so-called victory was nothing more than luck. The iron hive of the Velthar Union crushed 10 colonies of the Zir Collective without losing a single ship. That is power." A low growl filled the chamber as the Zir Collective entered. They were enormous hulking mammalians with fur streaked in silver. Their eyes glowed faintly, enhanced by cybernetic implants. Their warlord Goran slammed a massive fist on the table, rattling cups of water. "Lies and exaggerations. The Collective has ruled the Outer Rim for centuries. Our fleet, the Howling Storm, carries enough firepower to level continents. No one dares cross our path." The Orokan swarm hissed in response, dozens of small creatures moving together as one hive mind, their voices layered into a chorus. "Strength means nothing without numbers. We are the swarm. Our flagship, Devourer of Suns, blotted out the skies of entire systems. Against us, no defense remains. Last to arrive were the Karath Empire, crystalline beings whose bodies glimmered like shards of living glass. Their Empress Shira spoke with a voice like chimes. All of you cling to brute strength. True mastery lies in elegance. The eternal radiance, jewel of the Karath fleet, ended wars before they began. Enemies surrendered at the sight of its brilliance. Their words echoed through the chamber, each speech louder than the last. Pride filled the room. The 5 alien empires competed with stories of destruction, conquests, and victories across the stars. It was not just a meeting, it was a contest of egos. And in the middle of it all, one delegation sat quietly, almost forgotten. The humans. Only 3 had come, dressed not in shining armor or glimmering robes, but in plain uniforms of dark blue. Their ambassador, Elena Carter, sat with folded hands and calm eyes. Beside her stood Admiral Jonathan Hale, a tall man with gray streaks in his hair, and a younger officer who remained silent. Compared to the alien leaders, they looked painfully ordinary. Admiral Zarkath of the Arkans finally noticed them. His reptilian lips curled into something between a grin and a sneer. "And what of you, humans? Where is your fleet? Or have you come only to watch your betters discuss real power?" Laughter followed from several of the delegations. The Velthar commander tilted her head mockingly. "Perhaps they have brought one of their little frigates. What do you call them? Tin cans?" The humans did not answer right away. Elena Carter simply smiled politely. "We came because we were invited, and because it is wise to listen when the powerful speak." Her words only encouraged more ridicule. The Zir warlord barked a laugh. "Listen, or hide. Your kind plays at exploration and trade, but you have never faced a true war. Do not pretend you belong at this table." The Orokan swarm hissed together, their voices overlapping. "Primitive species, weak bones, short lives. They should bow before the strong." Only the Karath Empress spoke without mockery. Her chime-like voice was soft. "Perhaps they come with knowledge, not weapons. But knowledge alone cannot win wars." All eyes turned back to the humans, waiting for a defense for some desperate claim of strength. Admiral Hale finally leaned forward. His voice was calm, steady, and carried no anger. "We do not boast. We prepare." The chamber grew strangely quiet for a moment. The alien leaders exchanged glances, unsure whether to laugh again or to be insulted. Finally, Warlord Goran of the Zir grunted. "Prepare with what? Farming ships? Merchant freighters? You hide behind words because you have no fleet worth naming. Admiral Hale's expression did not change. Believe what you will. But humanity has learned that those who shout the loudest often have the least to show. That simple statement irritated the aliens even more than direct defiance would have. The Velthar commander snapped her mandibles. Arrogant little species. You dare compare yourselves to us? The humans remained still, their composure unshaken. It was almost unnatural, as though they knew something the others did not. The alien leaders did not notice, too busy inflating their own pride. They returned to their boasting, each one determined to prove that their fleet stood unmatched. But in the quiet corner of the chamber, Elena Carter whispered to Admiral Hale, her voice just low enough that only he could hear. They will see soon enough, won't they? Hale gave a slight nod, his eyes focused beyond the chamber's window where the stars stretched endless and silent. Yes, he said. When the time is right. The boasting continued for hours. Stories of conquered planets, annihilated fleets, and wars won long before humanity had reached the stars. Yet beneath the noise, one thing had changed. The presence of the humans lingered in the minds of the aliens. Small doubts flickered in the silence between their speeches. Why did the humans not protest? Why did they not shrink in shame? Why did they sit with calm confidence as though they held a secret? For the first time in centuries, the empires wondered, not about each other, but about Erdi. The summit chamber grew quieter after hours of alien boasting. Words had been exchanged, victories recounted, and power displayed through arrogant speeches. Outside the great viewing windows, the 5 alien battleships floated in orbit like jeweled titans, each one the pride of its empire. Their hulls glittered with symbols of conquest, weapons glowing faintly with stored energy. To most, it was a breathtaking display. To the aliens, it was reassurance. To the humans, it was only noise. The human delegation had spoken little. Ambassador Elena Carter sat calmly, her hands folded neatly, while Admiral Jonathan Hale observed the ships beyond the glass. The young officer beside them shifted nervously, sensing the weight of a secret that could not remain hidden for long. At last, Empress Shira of the Karath broke the silence. Her crystalline body caught the red star's light, scattering colors across the chamber. Humans, you speak of preparation. Preparation without proof is meaningless. Show us your strength or admit that you are here only to observe. The Archon Admiral smirked, his sharp teeth flashing. Yes, call your fleet if you have one. Let us see these preparations you cling to. The Velthar commander tilted her insect-like head, mocking. Unless, of course, you fear your fragile ships will be torn apart at the sight of ours. Ambassador Carter met their eyes without flinching. Very well, she said softly. If you wish to see, then you shall. She gave a slight nod to Admiral Hale. Without another word, Hale pressed a small device on his wrist. A coded signal shot from the human shuttle docked outside the station. The aliens laughed at first. From the void, a small human vessel drifted into view. It was a simple gray ship, small enough to pass for a freighter or scout. Compared to the towering alien battleships, it looked like a child's toy. The Zir warlord burst into loud laughter. This is your fleet? A metal pebble? You dare insult us by bringing such a thing here? The Orcon swarm hissed in unison, their layered voices sharp with mockery. Weak, useless, breakable. But then something changed. The little vessel emitted a pulse, silent, invisible to most eyes, but powerful enough to ripple across the star field. The alien scanners immediately picked up unusual readings, and then space itself seemed to bend. One by one, shadows appeared across the system, dark outlines forming against the stars. At first, the aliens thought it was a trick of the light, but within seconds the shadows solidified into shapes. Massive shapes. Colossal warships materialized out of nowhere, surrounding the red dwarf system. Their designs were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. No decoration, no banners, no jewels, just armored steel and angles of brutal efficiency. Each one bristled with weaponry glowing faintly with restrained power. The chamber fell silent. The aliens' laughter died in their throats as they counted. Not one, not 5, but dozens of human warships, each dwarfing their proud flagships. The Archon Admiral's scales paled, his eyes wide. Impossible, he muttered. No empire could build this in secret. The Velthar commander's mandibles clicked in shock. Our sensors. They show impossible readings. Those ships bend gravity. They twist the void itself. The Zir warlord, usually loud and aggressive, stood frozen. His implants flickered as he scanned the data. their weapons, their power cores. This is beyond collective science. Even the Orocon swarm, who normally spoke in harsh confidence, faltered. Their voices blended into one trembling note. This cannot exist, not without centuries of dominance, not without wars fought and won. Empress Shira of the Karath stepped forward slowly, her crystalline form shivering as light refracted from her body. Her voice, usually melodic and proud, was now soft with disbelief. "Humans, what have you done?" Admiral Hale finally rose from his seat. He did not shout nor boast nor laugh. His voice was calm, steady, like the steel of the ships now floating outside. "We prepared. While the empires fought and conquered each other, while you measured power by the worlds you burned, humanity built in silence. We do not brag of victories. We only make sure we are ready for the day we must fight." Ambassador Carter added gently, "We did not come here to threaten. We came here to remind the galaxy that silence does not mean weakness." The aliens were too stunned to answer. Their minds raced with questions. How had humans hidden such fleets? Where had they found the resources? How had a species they once mocked for their fragility surpassed the great powers of the galaxy? Slowly, the reality sank in. The humans had never been as weak as the empires believed. They had watched, waited, and built without fanfare. Now revealed before 5 of the galaxy's greatest powers, their fleet was not just impressive, it was terrifying. One alien delegate whispered, "Why hide this for so long?" Hale looked at the alien directly, his eyes sharp with meaning. "Because true strength does not need applause. And because those who seek war always reveal themselves, we only needed to be ready when the time came." The red dwarf star glowed faintly behind the warships, casting their massive shadows across the station. The alien battleships, once the pride of their empires, now looked like fragile relics, insignificant beside the silent human armada. Inside the chamber, no one spoke. The silence was heavier than any words. The boastful gathering of empires had turned into something else entirely, a moment of revelation. The aliens had come to mock humanity. Instead, they had witnessed the awakening of a giant. The chamber inside Aurora Point was silent. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of fear and awe. Beyond the great window, the red dwarf star bathed the void in crimson light, and in that glow the human fleet drifted like a wall of shadows. Steel giants, grim and quiet. They surrounded the system with silent authority. The alien delegates could hardly breathe. Their battleships, once proud symbols of power, now looked like toys beside the colossal human warships. Pride, arrogance, and centuries of dominance seemed to vanish in an instant. Admiral Zarkath of the Arkan Dominion finally broke the silence, his voice low and strained. "This cannot be real. A fleet of this size, hidden, built without our knowledge, how?" His reptilian eyes darted between the humans, searching for any sign of weakness, but found none. Ambassador Elena Carter answered gently, her tone calm but unshakable. While the empires were busy fighting wars of conquest, humanity prepared for survival. Every conflict in our history taught us one lesson: never again be unprepared. The Velthar commander's mandibles clicked nervously, her sharp confidence gone. You surpassed all of us in secret. What is your purpose now? Do you mean to conquer the galaxy?" Admiral Jonathan Hale's expression remained steady. "No, humanity does not seek conquest. We seek security. Our fleet exists to ensure that no one can ever threaten us again." Those words chilled the chamber even more. Humanity was not here to claim thrones or territory. They had no need. Their strength spoke louder than any declaration. The Zir warlord, Goran, who had once laughed the loudest, now struggled to contain his trembling rage. "You dare make us look weak before each other? You dare show us relics of doom and claim restraint? If this is true, then you are the most dangerous of us all." The Oricon swarm hissed in fearful harmony. "Power like this cannot be trusted. If you are not conquerors today, you will become conquerors tomorrow." But even their layered voices lacked the sharpness of certainty. They were afraid. The Karath Empress Shira, crystalline and radiant, stepped forward slowly. Her light refracted through the chamber, but her voice carried a softness never heard before. "Perhaps they are dangerous, but they are also disciplined. If they meant to strike, they would have done so already. Yet they chose to reveal this here, not in war, but in meeting." Admiral Hale nodded. "Exactly. If we wished to dominate, we would not be speaking with you now. We could have erased your fleets in the dark before you even knew they were here. Instead, we chose to show you, to remind you that Earth is not weak. To remind you that humanity does not bow. The aliens exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time in centuries, the balance of galactic power shifted, not through battle but through revelation. Outside, the massive human ships held their position, silent sentinels. No weapons fired, no threats were spoken. Their very existence was enough. The Arcan Admiral clenched his claws, his pride warring with his fear. If what you say is true, then no empire is safe. The humans hold the key to balance or to chaos. Ambassador Carter met his gaze. Balance is exactly what we seek. You call us primitive. You call us fragile. But fragility teaches resilience. Weakness teaches preparation. Humanity has suffered, yes, but we have endured. And now we will no longer be underestimated. The Veltar commander lowered her head slightly, mandibles twitching. For a species bred on victory, the taste of humility was bitter. Perhaps we misjudged you. Perhaps we misjudged humanity's place among the stars. The Zir warlord growled but said no more. His eyes, once filled with arrogance, now burned with caution. The Oricon swarm whispered among themselves, their voices forming a single note of grudging respect. And the Karath Empress bowed her crystalline form ever so slightly. At that moment, the galaxy had changed. The summit did not end with treaties or signatures. It ended with silence, each empire returning to their ships, their pride wounded, their minds filled with new fear. The human delegation remained behind, watching as the alien fleets departed one by one. The young human officer, who had stayed quiet all day, finally spoke as the last alien vessel vanished into warp. "Sir, do you think they will respect us now?" Admiral Hale looked out at the fleet, his eyes reflecting the cold steel of the warships. "Respect, perhaps. Fear, certainly. But trust? That will take time." Ambassador Carter added softly, "The important thing is they will never mock us again. They will think twice before challenging Earth." The Admiral allowed himself a faint smile, and that was the point. Far beyond the station, the massive human fleet began to slip back into its cloak of invisibility. One by one, the ships disappeared, melting into the void as though they had never been there at all. Soon only the small shuttle remained, drifting near the station. To the casual eye, it was as if nothing had changed. The arrogant empires would return to their worlds, their people none the wiser. They would continue their rivalries, their games of conquest. But deep within their hearts, one truth would burn forever. The humans had shown them what silence could hide. For centuries, the galaxy believed humanity to be fragile newcomers. Now they knew the truth. Earth had prepared for the day of reckoning, and that day had arrived. And though the humans claimed no empire, no crown, no star system beyond their own, their restraint made them stronger than any conqueror. For the greatest weapon was not in the firing of guns, but in the control to keep them silent. As the small shuttle carried Ambassador Carter, Admiral Hale and their officer back to their ship, the stars stretched endless before them. Humanity had taken its first true step into galactic leadership, not through blood, not through destruction, but through quiet strength. And from that day forward, when alien empires boasted of their mighty fleets, there would always be a pause, a hesitation, and a memory of the time 5 proud empires witnessed the hidden armada of Earth. They would remember that humans do not boast. Humans prepare,